Hey guys, Richard Holder here. Let's talk about crate motors, more specifically the LSX B15 crate motor from GM Performance Parts. No, not because I could possibly afford one, but from the guys at CarCraft were nice enough to let me use one back in the day and run a test. We're talking running it NA with a supercharger with a bunch of different camshafts and with a turbo. I even changed the AR on the hot side of the turbo. So all that stuff is coming up, but let's jump right in and start off with a blower. In this video, we're going to take a look at the B15 Lsx crate motor from GM Performance Parts. We're going to run it NA. We're going to run it with different camshafts. We're going to run it with a 4-liter WHIPPLE supercharger at different boost levels and with different camshafts. Let's jump right in and check it out. Here in part 1, we're going to take a look at the LSX B15, the GM Performance Parts or GM Performance crate motor, and I used this back when I was doing stuff for the guys at CarCraft. We ran a ton of testing on it, and this is part 1. So what we're going to do is take a look at the NA power output, take a look at what happened when we added a WHIPPLE supercharger, but we're also going to run it with a turbo, and I'm also going to show you, as best that I can, a test that we did where we changed the AR of a big single turbo that we ran on there. So we got a lot of cool stuff we're going to show you. It's not all going to come in this video. There's going to be multiple videos, probably 2, maybe 3, but let's start out by running this thing NA because it is a low compression crate motor. It has basically LS3 heads on it. It has a very small camshaft in it. It is an LS9, a factory blower cam, and we're going to show you why that may or may not be a good idea. There are actually a lot better cam choices. If all you want is a stock motor that's going to last a long time and you just want to put a blower on it, you want to drive to Cars and Coffee, it works really well. If you're actually trying to make power, there are much better cam choices than a factory LS9 cam. Or if you got the B8 version, the 8-pound version of that crate motor, it has an even milder cam. It has an LSA Cam on it, which is smaller than the LS9 cam. An LS9 cam is actually an upgrade for the LSA. And then there are better cams, like I said, for this LS9. But what we did was take the motor first and run it NA before we added boost to it, because I always like to do that just to make sure that the motor's broken in and that it's ready to rock, and also that there are no problems with it before we add boost, because I don't want to try to find a problem that's compounded by boost before we run the thing NA. So this was a 376-inch motor. It's a low compression for the boost. Obviously, it's a factory crate motor. The couple things that I don't like about it, I don't like the fact that it comes with stock LS3 valve springs. I also don't like that it comes with stock head bolts, although we've made a lot of power with those. I'd like to see this thing have ARP head studs on it and a good dual spring, or at least something that we could run a 600 lift cam with a single beehive spring. So we upgraded the springs on this, and we also eventually put head studs and stuff in it as well because we were running a lot of boost on it. But we ran this thing with the stock cam, long tube headers. We put, I think that this was an LSX, but or a factory LS3 intake and throttle body on here. Ran it with a Holley management system. And once we did that, this thing made 468 horsepower, and again, low compression LS3 is kind of how you would think about this thing, although with a different cam than an LS3, and 465 foot-pounds of torque. So it kind of made real similar horsepower and torque curves. And here's what happened after we added a camshaft to this thing. We added a comp cam, and this was actually kind of a blower cam. It was a comp. It was a 614, 624 lift split, a 227, 243 degree duration split, and 114 degree lobe separation angle. And it kind of did exactly what we would expect. It made a lot more power on the top, but it actually made more power through almost all of the curve from 3100 all the way out. Equipped with the comp cam, this thing made 532 horsepower. The torque peak was also up to 492 foot-pounds of torque. So again, good. This was obviously a good step up in camshaft, and whether you put an NA camshaft in it or a supercharged cam or a turbocharged cam, they'll all work well under boost, as we will be demonstrating when we run various camshafts under boost after we add the WHIPPLE supercharger. So now we had a good starting point, and the thing to remember is the reason that we would upgrade this with a camshaft is that everything that you do to improve the power output naturally aspirated, it will pay big dividends when you add boost. So if we have a supercharger with a given pulley on it, what will happen is now that we've installed this camshaft, we will make a lot more power and also at a lower boost level with the same pulley. So that's always a good thing. more power with less boost is always a good thing. So now let's find out what happened when we added our boost. So here we are with our naturally aspirated B15 Lsx crate motor with the comp cam in it, making 532 horsepower and 492 foot-pounds of torque. And here's what happened after we installed a 4-liter WHIPPLE supercharger. The WHIPPLE supercharger was equipped with a 4.75-inch blower pulley and a 7.5-inch crank pulley. It made a peak boost of 15.8 pounds. We'd run this with long tube 1 7/8 headers and obviously a Holley management system. We ran this thing on race gas and not E85. And so we could put enough timing in it. This thing obviously had an air-to-water intercooler as part of the WHIPPLE combination, and it had a 105mm throttle body on it. But here's the change, and here's where everybody's going to grab their torches and pitchforks. This blower motor combination actually had a slightly different camshaft in it, and I'm doing this for 2 reasons. One is that we didn't run the cam that I ran on the NA motor. We had made a change to this combination before we ran it with the blower, so there's nothing I can do about that. But I also want to know from you guys what you think the change would be in the camshaft. So we went from the 227, 243 cam to a 231, 247 cam. It was a comp 469 cam. So it was a 617, 624, 231, 247, and 113 degree LSA. It's an NA cam and not a blower cam, but there was a change in camshaft. So do you think that the camshaft itself, or how much do you think that that camshaft would change this power output? Like how much less or how much more would the combination make with the smaller cam? And I want to ask you that now, and then I want to ask you that again after I show you the results of the cam change that we made to this combination with the same pulley ratio. So here's what happened. So go ahead and answer in the comments. Let me know how much you think that that cam change would make going from a 227 cam to a 231 cam on this blower application. But now here, take a look and see what we did. We put a Brian Tooley Racing Stage 4 blower cam in this thing, which was a fairly big cam. That camshaft was a 617, 624 lift, so the same lift, but a 239, 254 degree duration split, and because it's a positive displacement blower cam, a much wider LSA at a 119 degree LSA, where the cam change that I was asking you before basically had the same thing or a very similar LSA, just a change in duration. So here we have what I would call the typical blower cam, NA cam kind of change, although this is skewed a little bit in favor of the blower cam because it's a much bigger blower cam. But the blower cam made more power up top to the tune of about 30 extra horsepower on top. Now we could have kept revving this thing. We only ran it to 6,700 RPM, but the power output was still climbing, and we could have run this thing easily to 7,000. But it wasn't my motor, so we didn't do that, and I was asking not to do that, not to rev the piss out of it. But as we see here, the difference between the NA cam and the blower cam is that a blower cam typically, because it has a really wide LSA, wants to make more power at the top of the RPM range, whereas the NA cam will usually make more power down low through the middle. And usually, if the intake duration numbers are the same between the blower cam and the NA cam, what will normally happen is the NA cam will make more power through most of the curve, except at the very top. Whatever that very top number is going to depend on how big the motor is and what all the other combinations are. But this goes to show you how that a big change in camshaft, this is the effect. And this was a dedicated blower cam versus an NA cam. So now I want to ask the question again. What do you think the change would be going from our 227 cam to our 231 cam on this blower application now that you've seen this kind of change? Did it change what you think about that kind of change in cam timing? I'll be interested to read all the comments because this will kind of be cool. But this is what happened when we ran our blower application on the crate motor. But obviously we didn't stop there, because if you're going to run a blower cam and make boost, and incidentally, when we ran the blower cam, the peak boost was actually higher than it was on the NA cam. Equipped with the blower cam, we had a peak of 16.5 psi, and equipped with the NA cam, we had a peak boost of 15.8 psi. So did all that boost leak out leak out through the cylinder head out into the exhaust, and let me know in the comments what you guys think. But here's what happened when we cranked the boost up, and we did that the easy way. Basically, we changed the blower pulley. We went from a 4.75 inch blower pulley, which is fairly big, down to a 4-inch blower pulley, which is kind of like let's get this party started blower pulley size. And it had a, as you can imagine, a sizable effect on the power output. The peak boost went up to 23 pounds, and now this thing was making nearly 1,000 horsepower, 991 or 2 horsepower. So it was doing well, and it did, it did the railroad track things, which is what we expect when we increase the boost pressure. It made a lot more power, and it made a lot more power not just at the top, but it made a lot more power everywhere. And now is kind of really working well with that big stage 4 blower cam. But the interesting thing will be now when I do the next video, which is where we ran a turbo on this combination. And yes, we ran it with this in the same camshaft, so you can put the pitchforks and the torches down, and we'll get to see how much more power a turbo combination makes than a blower camshaft at kind of similar boost levels. So that'll be an interesting video, so make sure to stick around. But let's get to our conclusion. Okay, guys, what do you think about the testing on our GM B15 Lsx crate motor? We ran it with the WHIPPLE supercharger. We ran it NA. We ran different cams. We ran different cams with the blower, and all that stuff worked out really well. I mean, let's face it. If you run 23 pounds on almost any LS motor, it's going to make a lot of power. But what do you guys think, looking forward to part 2 on the turbo combination? What's going to happen when we run the turbo on this motor? Are we going to make more power at the same boost, less power at the same boost? What do you guys think is going to happen? I'm pretty excited about that one. But here's another thing. I get comments all the time in these videos, and it shows me that guys are not looking through the channel. Make sure to check everything out. If you like turbo LS stuff and you want to see more turbo LS stuff or more blower LS stuff or more nitrous LS stuff, take a look at the playlist. I've made playlists that include all the turbo, blower, and NA LS stuff. All the videos are combined in one section. All of them that I've ever done and posted are up there in that playlist. So if you want to look at the turbo, blower, nitro stuff, check out the LS playlist. And I have those playlists for every engine family. I've got one for small block and big block Chevy, small block and big block Ford, even Dodge, Hemi stuff, and obviously, of course, the LS. So check out the playlist. I'm Richard Holder. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. I got more testing on this LSX coming up.